Welcome to the show. What a weekend, a very busy weekend. If you have been watching the so-called debate over the new Republican tax bill, I hope that you brought, it's not even really a question of popcorn because it's quite frankly not actually entertaining because it could be such a disaster. What I want to focus in on today is that the debate that went on over the weekend, the debate that's going on today as we're kind of building towards some final vote as to whether this tax bill is going to pass. It is theater, and I want to tell you about all of the theater around the debate to really understand. You could call it a sham or a scam or both. I don't know. Now, I want to be clear in what I am saying and in what I'm not saying here. I don't mean that in this debate, senators aren't, I don't know, advocating for what they believe in, for example. But in about 5 different ways, this entire thing is a scam and a sham. And it's important to understand this so that when you talk to people who, by the way, a lot of people aren't even paying attention to what's going on, even though this is going to affect, do their loved ones retain benefits that they are entitled to? Benefits that for many people are the difference between I can have health care or I can't. I can have food for my family or I can't. So we need to be armed to tell people what's going on. The first scam is that at the top line, the numbers are fake. They're just, the White House is pushing this and most Republicans are pushing this as a responsible, pro-growth, fiscally conservative tax plan. There is no nonpartisan sign or analysis that says that that's what's going on. The Congressional Budget Office said this will add $3 trillion to the deficit over 10 years. And the administration, when confronted with the economic numbers, says our math is better. It includes imaginary growth projections that aren't dynamically scored. It includes wildly optimistic assumptions that are just not grounded in reality. So this is not a policy disagreement. This is not like, is it a good or a bad thing to restrict a program in this way? No. This is just, they're presenting numbers that are imaginary. And this is a completely fiscally irresponsible bill by their standards of fiscal responsibility. That's the scam number one. The second scam with this bill is that the legislative process itself has been a sham. This was, of course, written behind closed doors. It was rammed through committee, and you've simultaneously got these negotiations happening where we don't even really know the goal. We don't even really see the reasoning. It's just, here's the newest version of the bill. And it's this 1,000-page bill dropped into Congress like a bomb, where the debate is really just Republicans taking turns reading pre-written talking points and Democrats being told, hurry up and sit down. So that is not even really debate. It's like a play where the ending, I believe, was written months ago, and we'll see in a day or two whether that's the case. Now, as if that all weren't bad enough, then it gets really dishonest. If what I just told you doesn't strike you as really dishonest, then it gets to really dishonest. Republicans say there's no cuts to Medicaid benefits here. There's just, we're just adding paperwork requirements. But in the real world, the paperwork requirements are the cuts, because what they do is they bury people in forms, deadlines, and verifications, and then they turn around and they close offices at 3 p.m. with a 2-month backlog for appointments to go in and submit all of that paperwork. So if you think that that's not a cut, if a single mom can't get her paperwork in on time because they've dumped in new requirements, restricted access hours at the offices, and nobody picks up the phone, and so the single mom's benefits lapse, technically, the benefits haven't been taken at a qualification level, but you've buried this single mom in so much paperwork and bureaucracy that it is a cut. These are cuts hidden behind bureaucracy. And so when they say, we didn't really reduce funding, they can repeat that all they want. But if the money doesn't reach the people who need it because of new requirements that they've put in, it's a cut. At the end of the day, it's a cut. So that's scam number 3. The fourth scam about this debate is that the bill supposedly helps primarily regular Americans. The vast majority of the benefits of this bill go to the top 1%. The middle class gets some crumbs, and sometimes they're temporary crumbs that expire, while the rich get permanent cuts, special carve-outs, new loopholes. So the idea that it's tax relief, Republicans have come up with this great linguistic tool, which is taxes are a burden and getting rid of them is relief. This is really a handout to donors wrapped in supposedly patriotic branding. So this really isn't a debate. A debate, if it's real, has two sides with facts, accountability, and consequences, but also with leverage. And what we have here is power, Republicans right now, just steamrolling reality. So the math is bad. It's being done in bad faith. It's being done as part of bad governance. And if you're not one of the people that the bill was written for, and statistically you're probably not, it will almost certainly leave you worse off no matter how many times they say middle class tax cut on Fox News. So this is of critical importance for people to understand, to explain to others, because so many people are not paying attention, and there is activism that is working. Okay, over the weekend, I was in touch with so many different creators and Senate staffers and different people, and everybody is saying, what can we do? We need constituents to call the senators that are maybes. What about looking at the funders of some of these senators that are thinking, maybe I will, maybe I won't, and saying, hey, you'd better push the senator also to kill this bill. So the point is, there's a lot being done, but too many people aren't even paying attention to the fact that this bill is being debated. Let's be informed so we know what to tell them. For weeks now, discussions have focused on Trump's big, beautiful bill and its potential Medicaid cuts. However, a far more dangerous, overlooked provision in the bill exists. At ground.news/Pacman, you'll discover what MAGA lawmakers quietly included, a provision that could block federal judges from enforcing court orders unless a bond is posted. And if this passes, it could render Trump above the law. This is a critical detail. It's largely unknown, and it really exemplifies this flood the zone strategy of the Trump administration. Now, this is why ground news is essential. It really is the best way to uncover buried information by showing you not just the story, but its origins across the political spectrum. You can see bias ratings, credibility scores, coverage timelines, and their browser extension also will flag potential bias when you're on a news site, sort of guiding you to more reliable sources for fact checking. Ground News gives you a smarter and more reliable way to stay informed. I'm partnering with them to give you 40% off their unlimited Vantage plan, which makes it just $5 a month. Visit ground.news/Pacman, scan the QR code, or use the code Pacman in the app to start. The link is in the description.